3 nights before the city blackout, Mira Vale heard knocking from inside her apartment wall. Not the front door, not the pipes. The wall beside her bedroom closet. At first, she ignored it. Old buildings made strange noises all the time. But the sound returned every night at exactly 2:13 a.m. 3 slow knocks, then silence. On the 4th night, she finally pressed her ear against the wall. Someone whispered her name. Mira jumped back so hard she nearly fell over the bed. Her apartment went dead silent. Even the buzzing streetlights outside her window seemed to disappear. She stared at the wall for almost a minute before laughing nervously at herself. "Stress," she whispered. But when she turned on the lamp beside her bed, something had changed. There was a door where no door had ever been before. It was narrow, painted dark gray, with no handle and no frame. It looked as though it had grown directly out of the wall. Mira froze. She had lived in the apartment for 6 years. There had never been a door there. Then came the 5th knock, slow, heavy, from the other side. Mira backed away, breathing hard. Her fingers shook as she grabbed her phone, but there was no signal. The screen flickered strangely, displaying only static lines. Then the whisper returned. "Mira, open it." The voice sounded familiar, painfully familiar. Lena. Her younger sister had vanished 11 years earlier. No goodbye, no body, nothing. The police had called it a runaway case, but Mira never believed them. Lena would never disappear willingly, not without telling her. The whisper came again, weaker this time. "Please." Mira stepped closer before fear stopped her. Every instinct screamed that the door was wrong. The air around it felt colder than the rest of the room, almost frozen. Tiny cracks spread across the paint near the edges, like something behind it was pressing outward. Then came another knock. This time, something knocked back from inside her closet. Mira spun around. The closet door slowly creaked open on its own. Inside, written across the back wall in black marker, were words she had never seen before. "Don't let him see you open it." The apartment lights suddenly shut off. Darkness swallowed everything, and from the other side of the gray door, someone began breathing. Mira didn't move. The darkness inside the apartment felt thick, almost alive, pressing against her skin while the breathing behind the gray door grew slower and deeper. She reached blindly for her phone again, but the screen was completely black now, as if the battery had vanished. Then came a new sound. Footsteps. Not inside the apartment. Inside the wall. They moved slowly behind the plaster, circling her bedroom like someone searching for a way in. Mira backed toward the window, trying to stay silent, but the old wooden floor betrayed her with a loud creak. The footsteps stopped instantly. A long pause followed. Then a man's voice whispered from behind the gray door. "She knows." Mira felt her stomach twist. Another voice answered from somewhere deeper behind the wall. "Then it's already too late." The apartment lights suddenly flickered back on. The gray door was gone. Mira stood frozen, staring at the blank wall where it had been seconds earlier. Her closet door remained open, but the warning written inside had disappeared too. Only cracked white paint remained. She barely slept until sunrise. The next morning, she ran downstairs to speak with Naomi Reed, the elderly neighbor who had lived in the building longer than anyone else. Naomi listened carefully without interrupting, though her face became paler with every word. When Mira finally finished, Naomi quietly locked her apartment door. "I hoped that thing would never come back," she whispered. Mira frowned. "You've seen it before?" Naomi hesitated before walking toward an old bookshelf. From behind several dusty photo albums, she removed a faded newspaper clipping dated 30 years earlier. 7 people missing after unexplained blackout at Belmore Apartments. Mira's chest tightened, as she stared at the building photo beneath the headline. It was the same apartment complex. Naomi pointed at one blurry figure standing near the entrance in the picture, a tall man in a dark coat. His face was impossible to make out. "They called him the Caretaker," Naomi said softly. "People started seeing doors where doors didn't belong. Then people vanished." Mira tried to laugh it off, but Naomi grabbed her wrist hard enough to hurt. "Listen to me carefully," Naomi whispered. "If the door appears again, do not open it." Before Mira could answer, someone knocked on Naomi's apartment door. 3 slow knocks. Both women froze. Naomi's eyes widened with terror. "Don't move," she whispered. The knocking came again. Then a calm male voice spoke through the door. "Maintenance." Naomi stepped backward immediately. "There's no maintenance worker in this building," she said. The doorknob slowly began turning on its own. Mira stared at it in horror. Then, from the hallway outside, came the exact same breathing she had heard behind the gray door the night before. Heavy, patient, waiting. Naomi killed the apartment lights instantly. The turning doorknob stopped. Mira could still hear breathing in the hallway, low and uneven, followed by the faint sound of shoes scraping against the carpet outside. Neither woman spoke. Naomi slowly reached into a kitchen drawer and pulled out an old revolver wrapped in cloth. "You keep a gun?" Mira whispered. Naomi ignored the question. Instead, she pointed toward the living room window. Across the courtyard inside Mira's apartment, a dim light suddenly flickered on by itself. Mira's blood ran cold. A shadow moved behind her bedroom curtains. Someone was inside. The breathing outside Naomi's door vanished. Silence swallowed the hallway again. After several tense seconds, Naomi finally moved closer to the peephole and looked out. "No one's there," she said quietly. Mira immediately rushed into the hallway toward her apartment, despite Naomi calling after her. She unlocked the door with shaking hands and stepped inside. The lamp beside her bed was glowing, and the gray door had returned. This time, it stood wide open. Cold air poured from the darkness beyond it. Mira couldn't see walls or furniture on the other side, only a long corridor disappearing into black fog. Strange symbols covered the inside frame of the doorway, carved deeply into the wood like warnings. Then she heard crying. A woman crying softly somewhere far down the corridor. "Lena," Mira whispered. The crying stopped. A moment later, her sister's voice echoed from the darkness. "Mira, help me." Without thinking, Mira stepped closer to the doorway. That was when she noticed the photographs hanging along the corridor walls. Dozens of them. Missing people. Some were old black and white portraits. Others looked recent. Men, women, children. Every face carried the same terrified expression. Then Mira saw one that nearly stopped her heart. A photo of herself, taken earlier that morning. Footsteps suddenly echoed from deeper inside the corridor. Slow, dragging. A tall silhouette emerged through the fog. The Caretaker. His body looked unnaturally thin beneath a long black coat, and his face remained hidden in darkness even as he approached. Keys hung from chains around his hands and wrists, clinking softly with every step. "Mira," Lena's voice cried again, louder now. "Please hurry." The Caretaker tilted his head slowly toward her. Then he spoke in a calm, almost gentle voice. She opened the door. Every photograph on the corridor walls began shaking violently. Mira stumbled backward as the pictures started whispering over each other, hundreds of desperate voices filling the apartment. "Run! Don't let him touch you. He lies." The Caretaker took another step forward, and suddenly, Lena appeared behind him. But something was horribly wrong. Her face looked pale and stretched, her smile too wide, her eyes completely black. "Mira," she whispered softly. Then her jaw unhinged far wider than humanly possible, and every light in the apartment exploded at once. Glass rained across the apartment as darkness swallowed the room again. Mira hit the floor hard, covering her head, while the whispers around her became deafening. The gray doorway pulsed like it was breathing, expanding and shrinking against the wall. Inside the corridor, Lena's twisted figure stood motionless beside the caretaker. But then Mira noticed something strange. The caretaker never looked at Lena. He watched only the door, as if he feared it too. "Mira," Lena's distorted voice echoed again. "Come closer." Naomi suddenly burst into the apartment behind her, revolver shaking in her hands. The moment she saw the corridor, all color drained from her face. "It found another replacement," she whispered. Mira turned sharply. "Replacement for what?" Naomi's eyes locked onto the caretaker. "For him." The corridor lights flickered faintly for the first time, revealing dozens of deep claw marks along the walls inside. Some looked years old. Others looked fresh. Then Mira finally understood. The photographs, the disappearances. The door never took people randomly. It trapped someone inside to become the next caretaker. The tall figure slowly raised one trembling hand toward Mira, the chains of keys rattling softly. Up close, she could finally see beneath the darkness covering his face. Human skin, human eyes, terrified eyes. He wasn't a monster. He was a prisoner. Suddenly, the fake Lena lunged forward with impossible speed, screaming loud enough to shake the apartment walls. Naomi fired instantly. The gunshot thundered through the room, and Lena's body twisted unnaturally before collapsing backward into the corridor darkness. The caretaker staggered violently, as though the shot had wounded him too. "Mira!" Naomi shouted. "Close the door!" But the corridor was changing now. The walls stretched farther apart. More whispers emerged from the darkness. Hundreds of hands began reaching out from inside the fog, clawing desperately toward the doorway. The caretaker spoke again, panic finally entering his voice. "If it stays open, it spreads." The apartment floor began cracking beneath them. Doors appeared along every wall in the room. Small gray doors, dozens of them. Knocking erupted from inside all of them at once. Mira realized the truth too late. The thing behind the corridor had never wanted Lena, never wanted the missing people. It wanted entrances. She grabbed the original gray door with both hands and slammed it shut with all her strength. The instant the latch clicked, every other door in the apartment vanished. Silence. The corridor disappeared. The caretaker disappeared. Everything stopped. Only one thing remained. A single photograph lying on the floor. Mira slowly picked it up. It showed her apartment building exactly as it looked now. But standing in the upstairs window was a tall figure in a dark coat, holding a ring of keys, watching the street below, watching for the next door to open.